Everybody in. Excellent. Right, let's get going. If I stop talking, it's probably because I'm just letting more people in as we go. So, welcome to tonight's seminar. It's been a long time since they've let me loose on it. So most of you know me, all of you know me, but anybody that watches this might not. So I am your personal trainer, your customer success manager, but I am not a doctor. So everything that we talk about is very much a coach's guide to, but we are going to be able to signpost you to any extra help that you think that you might need as well. Good. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about why sleep is so important. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the toolkit and some of the things that we're going to do to get you better sleep. And then, of course, at the end, at what points do we really need to talk to a GP or a specialist about some of the problems that we might be having? Oh, computers. So, why is sleep so important? Most of you have seen this graphic before, either around the gym, or we might have shared it with you in a goal review. I just realized I don't think I'm recording this meeting. Yes, I am. Excellent. So if you've ever felt that you've been working really hard in the gym, you've been getting your daily steps in, you're working really hard on nutrition, but results just aren't coming, then that is because sleep is very much the hidden base of the pyramid. So this applies to everybody. If you're looking to gain muscle, or if you're looking to lose body fat, if you're looking to just generally have a better quality of life, improve your mental health. And before we can start to really excel in anything, we need to make sure our sleep's under control. That's basically the notes I'd written for myself. Excellent. So you can have a little read of that, but nutrition definitely trumps metabolic conditioning, which is the style of training that we largely do. Metabolic conditioning is certainly more important than gymnastic skills, and gymnastic skills are more important than weightlifting and strength. But we really need to make sure that that sleep is in place before we consider excelling at any of those things. So poor sleep also affects our food choices. So it does this by disrupting our hormones that regulate hunger, but also fullness. So when you're sleep deprived, you've got a hormone called ghrelin that increases and simulates hunger. And you've got a hormone called leptin that decreases your feeling of fullness. So the hormonal imbalance often leads to cravings for very high calorie, very sugary food, fatty foods, because your body's looking for like quick energy. The poor sleep as well can impair our decision making and self-control. So it's a little bit harder to resist those choices that it's asking for. But over time, and if that's happening time and time again, those factors will contribute to things like body fat gain and hinder our fitness progress. Without getting too technical on this, because it could be its whole own seminar, sleep can lead to a reduced insulin resistance, which I know a couple of you in this chat today might be thinking a little bit about. So we can talk a little bit more about that one-to-one in your next goal reviews, because I know I've got at least a few of you in there. So goals. We've all got goals. We all talk about our goals in goal reviews and just chats in the gym. And everybody's goals, lost the page, hang on, look a little bit different. And it doesn't really matter how much effort you put into all of these things, you're just not going to get your optimal results without good sleep. Because it's very hard to make any real changes until you've decided that good quality and an adequate quantity of sleep are the priority for you. So some of you work shifts, some of you have got young children, Some of you are menopausal and waking in the night hotter than the sun, but that just means it's even more important to make sure that the sleep that you do get is of good quality and good quantity. And as expected, the dog now wants to go out, so bear with me a second. Thank you. Excellent. If I am going too fast, please just let me know. Just give me a little nudge or a thumbs up or something. I've lost my page again now. Thanks, Cora. So, the prescription for this is better sleep. So, I want to hear from you now. I know most of you filled out the Google form. Just pop into the chat what it is you think you're struggling with the most. I've got a good idea already, but you can go into a little bit more depth here if you want to. Multiple times in the night. Cool. That was a really, really common theme, actually, Josh. I think we'll probably spend up the most time there. Anything else from anyone? Waking in the night. Same for Emma. Switching my mind off. Oh, me too, Kelly. Me too. Waking up at 2 a.m. That's witching hour, Rachel. Blood sugar's not balanced. Loo trips. Yep. Shifts. Cool. Pretty much all things we're going to be talking about. Thinking about work. Yeah. I hear that, Lisa. Loo trips for Jackie as well. Cool. So we've got a lot to talk about. I think I've got pretty much all of this covered. Yeah, I've got that for you as well, Natalie. Too excited for the 6 a.m. class. You know what? I am too. I've got 3 in a row. So if you're in tomorrow morning, we're going to have a really good time because we're all staying up late. Cool. So this is what you told me through that Google form, which is basically how I've written the next few slides. Most of you waking up during the night, and a lot of you sort of ruminating on thoughts and worries as well. I'll probably whiz through the next 2 or 3 slides so that we can really talk about what's going to help you out the most. So, causes of poor sleep. Lots and lots of things that can cause low quality sleep. Mental health. When we talk about mental health, we're not talking about mental health conditions all the time. We all have mental health. We all have physical health. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's a condition. So things like worrying about work, money, that we're going to factor under mental health. Physical health can have some detriments on our health as well. I know, Cindy, with your bad back in the past, that's kept you up at night as well. Stu's got a cough at the moment, me too, which is not aiding sleep quality. But of course, there's physical health conditions as well that can make it a little bit difficult to sleep. And then poor habits and environmental causes can be another big one as well. Other things, jet lag, shift work, drugs and alcohol. But I know you're all absolute little angel babies. I don't want to spend too long on this slide at all, but on top of us not achieving our goals with long-term bad sleep, we do put ourselves at slightly higher risks to health. Couple of bits in there, words that you've seen before. We're not going to talk too much about that because I'm not a doctor. But they are just something to be really, really mindful of. Our good quality of sleep really does improve a lot for us. So how are we going to manage this? You are all Primal Movement members. You know that everything that we do is habit-based, and you know that we're going to be starting with behavioural tools first. After that, we're going to look at nutrition. And then as a bit of a last resort, we look at supplementation and medication as well. So this is the blueprint. For everybody to see success, we're going to work on our environment, we're going to switch off our screens, consider the effects of our pets, and limit our alcohol and caffeine intake. That's the very, very basics of it. I think the only one that I'm not talking further about is the pets. And I only added this about 10 minutes ago when I couldn't get the dog off the bed. I know most of you do have pets, and having them jumping on and off the bed in the night. If you've got a cat like mine that likes to come in with mice and things in the middle of the night as well, that certainly doesn't help. So making some considerations around them as well and helping them to build a routine is going to help you out too. So, right, we're going to dive into all of our bits a little bit deeper now. We're going to start with routine. So a lot of the answers that came through on the Google form, annoying pets. A lot of the answers that came through on the Google form, as in depth as you gave the answers, a lot of it comes back to routine. So we need to start planning ahead and then backwards. So for example, to be up at 7 a.m., if we're going to get 8 hours of sleep, we want to be asleep at 11. That means I need to put my routine in place at 10:30. That means, excuse me, my screens are off at 10 and I'm winding down from 9:30. Our brains can be trained. Oh, goodness me. So trying to add something like a certain scent or a certain activity that is done before bed, welcome, to trigger a sleep response is really important. For me, it's cuticle oil. As soon as I put on my cuticle oil, I know it's bedtime. Nutritionally, with our routine as well, we want to limit our caffeine in the 6 to 8 hours before bed. We want to limit our alcohol intake as well, certainly on weeknights. And then our high fat and high protein foods as well. Excuse me. Because of the hormonal response that fat and protein in food causes, that can keep us awake without going into too much depth. Just gonna grab some water. Cool. So ruminating and racing thoughts. I feel like this is my specialist subject. I'm a warrior. So brain training or like cognitive shuffling must be associated with sleep. So when we're ruminating, you're lying there thinking about all the things in the world. There's a couple of things that we can do to get back to sleep. So getting out of bed is actually like rule number 1. We need, I'm so sorry. We need to associate bed with sleep. And that doesn't happen when we're lying there tossing and turning. So getting out of bed, going to the lounge, reading a book. I like to go and do the washing up because I don't typically do it before bed. Do something away from a screen that is going to help you to feel a little bit sleepy again before you come back to bed. The military sleep method, I know I've given some of you before, and there is a link for it in a minute. The banana game, which we're actually going to try together right at the end of this, and then brain dumps and journaling as well, which again I've spoken to some of you about, but taking those thoughts that are keeping you awake, writing them down and telling yourself that that is now for tomorrow. I'm worried about what my boss is going to say at work. Cool, I'll think about it tomorrow. A lot of these techniques as well that we're going to go through and practice work very well for those waking night people, which makes up about half of you. I'm having a terrible time. But it's going to help you get back to sleep as well. The banana game is my absolute favorite. I discovered it about 2 weeks ago researching for this seminar, and I don't think a day has passed that I've not used it yet. So waking nights. Firstly, we need to fact find why. These are just a couple of the examples of the things that keep us up at night. Apnea being one. I'd probably pop things like colds and flu in there with that as well. Hormones, medications, anxiety, the environment. That's probably going to where we're going to include your pets too, and diet too. Can make you wake up in the night. So, just a couple of little bits here. So, sleep apnea. You can have a slightly more in-depth chat with a coach about this, but you're better off talking to a GP. Same for hormones and medications. There is really only so much that we can help with on that. It's very much a GP conversation. However, your coaches can help you with anxiety, environment, and diet too. And there are slides on each of these that I'm going to share with you tomorrow as well. I've got a little bit here that I wrote out earlier. So it was a study of rats that ate a very high-fat diet before bed. And they had more fragmented sleep, but they were excessively sleepy during the day as well. This was because of the high-fat foods brought about a weight gain and a decrease in sensitivity to a brain chemical called orexectin, which helps to regulate the body's sleep clock. High-protein foods like steak and chicken will actually disrupt sleep because they take a very long time to break down, which is a problem at bedtime because your metabolism slows up to about 50%. The body faces the same sort of problem if you eat right before dinner time. So avoid eating, I think they say about an hour to 2 hours before bed. Spicy foods as well. Not only can they cause things like heartburn, but when you lie down, they can create an acid reflux. So if you have something like sleep apnea, the symptoms may worsen because of the backed up acid and the way that it affects your airway. So for better sleep, we are going to eat complex carbohydrates. That's our whole wheats and our oatmeals. These foods actually trigger the release of a sleepy hormone called serotonin. And they don't take too long to digest either. Cool. So I've linked here for you some helpful podcasts. There was supposed to be a fourth, but I never quite got around to adding it. The first one there, if you wanted to give these a scan, the Waking Nights and Shift Work, that's actually a podcast by a chap called Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist. If you've listened to his podcasts before, they are not only very, very interesting and insightful, they are also dull as hell. So if the information doesn't help you to sleep, the sound of his voice will send you to sleep. So it's a double win. The second is the military sleep method. So we only talked about this very slightly. This is a method of falling asleep that the US military actually trains its troops in. It does absolutely work because it is a cognitive reshuffle. So it distracts your brain from the things it's thinking about. And the third one, the banana game, as I call it. He won't call it the banana game in this podcast because I made that up. But about 3 minutes into that podcast with the mindset mentor, or Rob Dial, he does talk you through a technique that, again, it's cognitive shuffling. It's a distraction technique that can be used in the day as well. If you're feeling particularly anxious and you want to bring your mind away from situations and just let it rest and reset, that's a really, really good one as well. Cool. So, little recap of what we've talked about so far. Don't stay in bed if you can't fall asleep. Distract your mind. Write down your worries. Manage your environment. Limit your caffeine and alcohol. And consider establishing a sleep routine. Cool. We've all got that. So, supplements. We're going to touch on very, very slightly. We think that this supplements in any form for any reason are a last resort. They can be incredibly beneficial when they're used correctly and when all other things are in place. They are not going to solve the problem on their own. I actually religiously use magnesium, and I use it in two forms, bath salts and actually an oil as well. It's on my bedside cabinet that I actually put on my feet. Somebody told me to one day, and I did, and it worked. Lots of people have great success with other products as well, but when it comes to prescribed medications or anything a little bit stronger, that's certainly a talk to have with your GP or a nurse as well. So when you talk to your GP, if you're thinking none of these things are going to work for me, Kate, I must talk to a doctor immediately. There's a couple of things to consider, and this slide has come up in almost all of my seminars. GPs are incredibly pushed for time, and they are trained in risks, not benefits. They may not have a specialized view of that field. And when I say go to your GP appointment prepared, you really need to be using statements like, this is affecting my quality of life. It's in moments like that that the GP is actually going to start to, well, not listen, because they were listening all along, but they're going to make sure that they really get you the help that you need. So last but not least, you've got access to 5 wonderful coaches at Primal Mvmnt. You've all got goal reviews, and we'd encourage you to make the absolute most of them. I'm going to be sending you an email tomorrow. It's going to have the recording of this seminar. It's also going to have our guide to sleep, which covers a lot of this in a lot more depth, and some other stuff that we haven't talked about as well. And of course, my email is open all the time for any extra little questions. But I'm just going to open the floor now. You can absolutely unmute yourself. We've got half an hour, if you want it, to ask as many questions as you like. Don't be shy. Somebody else might be thinking it too. And we'll answer as many questions as you can. I'm going to grab some water first. Go, go, go. Go on, Jackie.
I just wonder, could I book you for a last evening chat, because you've got such a soothing voice? I'm actually feeling really tired now, sat here listening to you.
I'm glad I bored you enough. That's...
No, seriously, it was very, you've got a very calm voice, and I think that sort of made me think that I do need to listen to something that's quite calming before I go to bed, like that military sleep thingy. But yeah, that's something I've never considered doing before, but I think I will now.
Yeah. There's some really, really good ones and guided meditations as well that I really, really like. So I've just seen one from Emma. A tarot reader on TikTok. I like that. What I don't like about that is it means you're on your phone. If there's a way... yeah, it's almost like counterproductive, isn't it? But if it works, it works. I personally enjoy a murder podcast at bedtime. Go on, Stu.
There's a whole category for those that do Audible. There's a whole category on Audible now about this sort of thing, including my absolute favourite one, which is this audio book will send you to sleep, and it includes things like dimensions of bricks around the world, why different places are named what they're named. It's really bogus jolliness.
I like the sound of that one. There's some incredible sleep podcasts out there. Rachel's said I use Headspace, so do I. There's a great, and if you're not somebody that pays for Headspace, because they are on Netflix as well. And if you set it up on your phone, you can turn off the screen to turn it into a podcast, which is quite a handy little feature. But their sleep ones are really good. Jamie Donovan on Audible, yeah. Shall we play the banana game? Or has anybody got some more questions? We're going to play the banana game. Right. I'm going to talk you through it. If you fall asleep, I'm just going to leave you on the call, okay? And I'm going to do my best not to, because I actually play this every night now, and it does send me to sleep, and I have reclined. So, the banana game is a way to distract your mind from what it's thinking about. So you're going to have a quick look around you, and you're going to choose an item or a thing. So I might choose curtains. Curtains is my thing, or my banana, my curtains. So you're going to take a couple of long, deep breaths. Now they're going to come in through your nose. You're going to expand your lungs as widely as you possibly can, and then out through your mouth. That's how we're taking our long, deep breaths. Now I'm going to use the word C for curtains. And I'm going to think about two things that start with the letter C. And I'm going to picture those in my mind. So it could be cats. And I'm just going to spend a moment picturing cats. How lovely. My second C word might be car. Let's just spend a minute picturing some cars. Maybe I'm listening to the car, like the sound of the engine. And then I'm going to move on to the letter U. Bit of a trickier one. I'm going to spend a moment or two with my long, deep breaths just thinking about umbrellas. And then I'm going to think about unicorns. And the way that this works is because of the absolute randomness of it. It actually encourages your brain to fall faster into your REM stage of sleep, which is like rapid eye movement. That's when you dream. And it's a very important stage of your sleep, but it typically comes quite late. So if we can get it going earlier, you're more likely to get the deep sleep. So even if you've only got a short window to sleep, if you've only got 5 or 6 hours, you're going to make sure that that deep sleep is included by encouraging the REM sleep to come faster. Does that make sense? So then you'd move on to the letter R. Raindrops. Just think about raindrops, like picture them on the window. Listen to them in your mind. We've all had plenty of them in the last few days to think about. And that's how the banana game works. And then once you've finished your word, if you're still awake, you just go back to the start. Same word, don't change words, and do it again. Curtain is the word that I use typically. I did use mold patch the other day because I spotted that just before bed. Which actually got me worrying about stuff. But you pick a word. And typically I don't get to the end of the word. Cool. Right, any last questions before you all go and look for mold patches on the corner of your bedroom? No, cool. So tomorrow I'm going to ping you an email with the recording of this seminar. I'm going to send you over a worksheet as well for jotting down those thoughts that are keeping you awake. And also, our Primal Movement Guide to Sleep, which I know some of you have had in a goal review, but I'll make sure that you all get it. Cool. Until next time, my friends, I'll see some of you at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Refresh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. See you later, team.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye bye.
Bye.
Right. See you later, Heather.